Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Shorten Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.
From Mansers on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge, we're out to lunch with editor of the Baton Rouge Business Report, Stephanie Regal. It's business, Baton Rouge style.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Regal. Welcome to Out to Lunch. As technology continues to evolve and change the world around us, our local economy is changing too and adapting, taking advantage of the opportunities the tech sector creates and preparing the next generation of tech workers for the jobs that need filling today and in the years to come. Joining me today to discuss this is Jacquelyn Craddock, Director of Workforce Initiatives at Nexus Louisiana, which is an arm of the Research Park Corporation that connects growth-focused companies to capital, resources, and talent. In her role, Jacquelyn oversees a relatively new program called Apprenti Louisiana, an apprenticeship program that provides education and paid on-the-job training for those interested in joining the tech sector. Unlike other apprenticeship programs which might focus on the skilled trades, Apprenti is focused on the tech sector, which means apprentices work in computer programming, web development, software development, IT support, and security administration, just to name a few. It's a badly needed program in this state, and it is making a difference in its short life. Jacquelyn is a native of South Louisiana and a graduate of LSU who came back to Louisiana to work at LSU more than a decade ago after getting a master's degree in public administration at Tennessee and working several years in that state. Jacquelyn, thank you so much for being here today. Great story.
Thank you.
And with me and Jacquelyn at the table is Casey Roussel, CEO of Entrical, a Baton Rouge-based tech company that specializes in technology solutions in the security sector. Entrical is a relatively new company that has several products, including a database that allows law enforcement agencies to share information with each other, a facial recognition and object comparison software, and Platform 11, which enables law enforcement and commercial users to share information designed to keep those users safe. Casey has been CEO of the company since mid-2019, though he was working with the firm before that in his capacity as an IT consultant. And Casey, this is such a great story, and you were sharing some of the products with us, and we've been already having such an interesting discussion. So thanks for being here on Out to Lunch.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad
so
to be
much
here.
Fun. Well, Jacquelyn, I'm going to start with you. Apprenti is part of a larger national program, right, that was started in Seattle. It's administered by the U.S. Department of Labor, and Nexus is sort of the local administrator of it?
Yes, that's correct. So Nexus Louisiana is an intermediary company that is providing Apprenti to the ecosystem here throughout Louisiana. So we are in a number of markets here in Louisiana, but Apprenti nationally is in 15 different states and markets where technology are hubbed.
Okay. And what companies do y'all play? How many companies do y'all place apprentices with? How many apprentices do y'all have in the program?
Right. So great question. So Apprenti, we started with a pilot cohort in cybersecurity analyst, and we had 5 companies that participated with us, placing 10 apprentices at those respective companies. As we look to accelerate Apprenti here in 2020, we'd like to grow and have more companies participate with us, looking forward to occupational roles of an IT support professional, again, cybersecurity analysts, software developers.
And so is the problem that the people entering, and presumably primarily young people entering these fields, they're not being properly trained, or they just need more on-the-job training? I mean, I know a trained workforce is the big issue that we hear so much about here in Louisiana.
Yeah. When we look at, there are probably over 500,000 jobs nationally in technology. And when you look at education or higher education, there are only, roughly around 50,000 computer science degrees coming out. So there's a large gap in the workforce on getting talent to companies. And as we explore in technology, there are a lot, over 50% of those jobs in technology do not require a formal 4-year degree. So as we look at having high schoolers and training and credentials, we'd like to be that talent pipeline to source candidates with IBCs, that's the industry-based credentials, and tying those candidates to companies that are looking to source talent. So the candidates will have transferable skills from other opportunities that they would have had in life experiences. And we provide the training for them and then partner them and source them to companies.
Fantastic. And companies like Entrical, no doubt, because you all are a tech company, and I would imagine you have a need for all sorts of tech workers. Casey, tell us, though, about exactly what Entrical does, because I know it's made up of some other companies that y'all acquired. It's got a bunch of different product lines. I mentioned 3 of them. They're all around the security sector.
Yes, ma'am. And the biggest model for us that we were trying to change was that even with law enforcement and companies out there dealing around physical security, everyone's in the response industry, meaning something happens, let's respond to it. So we kind of took approach and said, hey, how can we figure out how to stop these things from happening in the first place? So no one has to respond, or at least we can limit the disaster that happens. And a lot of it has to deal with data. How can people communicate? And one of the big things we found was that there was no way for the commercial sector to not only communicate internally, but also communicate with their neighbors and with law enforcement. So if you take the situation of, if you're in the middle of a city block and there's an active shooter going on, right now there is absolutely no way for law enforcement or anybody to communicate with all those surrounding properties that there's an emergency, so stay inside, don't come out. None of that exists. So that's why we built Platform 11, to allow these companies to communicate internally and communicate with the neighbors and with law enforcement.
In any sort of incident, not just something as dramatic as an active shooter.
We've got clients that use it to report maintenance issues, and we have it where they report active shooters, fires, different types of high-level security, so it can be used across the board.
So in other words, they're all like on a private network, basically?
It's a private secure system where everyone's in it. We've got predefined roles, permissions, default groups. That's all set up and customized for the particular property owner. For example, one of our property owners owns over 200 buildings throughout the country, and he has all of his buildings on it where he can, within 30 seconds, he can communicate with every single tenant, let them know exactly what's going on. They commute with their neighbors, other buildings, security. It's unbelievable.
And it's like an app on your phone, I would imagine? Or do you interface on your laptop?
Yeah, it's all web-based. It all runs in a secure cloud environment, but it works on phones. It auto-formates to fit any device you're on.
So cool. Okay. Now, you also have this facial recognition software that you were telling us about.
Yes, ma'am. Facial rec is becoming very popular. It's getting some bad, press out there, you'll call it, because privacy rights people are under an impression that, okay, everyone's out recording people's faces and using their face to track them and do all this sort of stuff, which is furthest from the truth. Facial rec doesn't record anything. All it is what we say object comparison. So if I've got an image of something in my system, I'm comparing faces to it, whether it's live feed, an uploaded image, and all I'm doing is telling you this matches, or it's a percentage match for it. So private companies, the commercials are using it for access control. So accessing the buildings, accessing the sensitive areas where, hey, you can steal an ID, you can steal a badge, but you can't steal a face. And it's got to be a live face, so you can't hold someone's picture up to get in. So it'll access doors, access different things. We're using face to do that. On the law enforcement side, it's helping identifying wanted individuals. And now we're getting into with missing children. So where if children, Amber Alerts and stuff, where we can upload the photo, and everyone that's running our facial rec system, if that child passes, it can alert and say you see them.
Okay, so wait, you can use the photo for something like missing children, but I can't use a photo to get in a building if it needs to see my real face?
Correct.
How does that work?
So let's say if I own my company and on my door I have facial rec, I load all of my employees into my system. So if you're not an employee, that door won't open. But I can also add a vendor. So if I know a vendor's coming to the office, I can load their picture. It'll let the vendor in. So a lot of companies are saying, okay, if a vendor's come and fix the AC system, that vendor has to register and submit a selfie of that person that's come and fix my air condition. And so when that vendor gets there, if the face doesn't match, that person's not getting in.
Fantastic.
So they're
huh?
using it to control who's entering the buildings.
I want to hear some more about the products because I love them, but I want to ask you because I need to bring Jacquelyn into the conversation because I know she has a lot to add. And so, I'm curious. Was the software developed here in Baton Rouge using local talent, or in part?
Well, yes, ma'am. Anything that's dealing with anything that's law enforcement, sieges, criminal data, that's all done here in the U.S. We do have.
But in Baton Rouge?
Yes, in Baton Rouge. Our office is here in Baton Rouge, and we do have a subsidiary office in India as well. We have an office right outside of London as well, but most of the heavy software stuff is done here locally in Baton Rouge.
By local talent.
And designed here locally, yes.
Wow, okay. So, do you all know of many companies like this, Jacquelyn? And are these the kind of companies that you all hope to place people with?
Yes, absolutely. So if there are opportunities and vacancies that companies, or growth and expansion opportunities that companies are forecasting, we'd like to be one pathway. So we don't claim to be the only pathway, but certainly one pathway. Apprenti is a registered apprenticeship, so it's not. It's really not an internship, and we're not a staffing agency, but we are a conduit. So we're also not the training provider. We partner with higher education or 2-year degree institutions to provide the training for us. So we don't want to disrupt certainly any of the training that's already happening, or providers in the industry that are doing that. But what space we operate in is the conduit for industry to be partnered with being able to have a return on investment and a talent pipeline to kind of connect those. So we do manage all of the compliance for companies, so companies don't have to get involved in any type of federal or state regulations, and we provide the return on investment braiding workforce development funds so that it enhances the opportunity for companies to be involved and utilize those savings for their growth and expansion.
So do you all pay the apprentices, or do you all pay the companies, or do you, or neither? How does the money
funding
picture work?
Absolutely. So initially, we're doing this. Nexus LA is in this space. Apprenti is in this space, really to grow the ecosystem. But how we cover the cost of the training. So there's no initial cost to the company.
To the employer.
Right. There's no cost to the employer, and there's no training cost to the apprentices.
You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking with Jacquelyn Craddock of Nexus Louisiana and Casey Roussel of Entrical. We'll be right back after this very short break. You're listening to Out to Lunch. I'm Stephanie Riegel. I'm talking to Jacquelyn Craddock of Nexus Louisiana and Casey Roussel of Entrical. In the places where they've been doing this for a while, what kind of results are they seeing? What kind of metrics are they using to measure the success of the program?
Yes. We have a high rate of apprentices. Generally, it started in software development with large companies that were looking to kind of grow platforms. So targets of apprentices have been women, minorities, and veterans, and a real emphasis to kind of diversify the tech space, right? Because that's generally been male-dominated. And we have a great success rate. So there's more than 750 apprentices nationally. We are growing this in the market here in Louisiana. So as we look, we probably don't want a cohort of more than 20 in each training session. So as we look to kind of build out these 4 cohorts over 2020, but companies have loved it with our cybersecurity analyst. So we had 10 apprentices in that cohort, and they will all finish their OJT, that's the on-the-job training portion, here at the end of March, and then they'll be retained for full-time employment.
Do they have jobs already lined up?
Yeah, so really
That's
how
great. Yeah.
how that works is the training on the front end. They complete the training, and then that OJT, they start from day one having
Actually, as
full-time
employees.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
full-time employees with complete benefits. So medical, dental,
Right,
retirement. Now the benefit to the company is that companies can source this talent at a reduced wage.
Okay.
So there's a cost savings at the beginning for those apprentices. And if you use this as a talent pipeline, you can really see over time that you'd have a cost savings.
Casey, is this the kind of thing that your company would be able to take advantage of? I mean, is there need for it, or are y'all?
Yeah, I think there's always a need for, qualified employees to do it, and a lot of times in our space, we find it's all results driven. So we can find someone that, whether it's a 4-year computer science degree or some kid that never had the means to go to college but learned all the skills on their own, don't have a college degree but's massively talented in what we need. So that's what we always look at. Hey, how can we find great talent? And there's always a need for it. And I think that's across this space, is that there is a big need, and finding good talent is hard to do.
So you mentioned that you all have software developers and obviously employees here in Baton Rouge, and this is your headquarters, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you have a software house in India and London also, or London
India is strictly software. We call them I don't know if grunt coders is the right word, but our team here in the U.S. does all the architecture, all the security, all the design, and then the team in India does a lot of the basic coding.
So did you find them? I mean, how does one go about finding grunt coders in India?
Well, one of our partners is from India, so
Okay.
so that makes it easier. And a lot of the work that subsidiary company does is sourced in India.
Is the tech support done there too?
No, all that's done here.
Okay.
The India has no direct connection or engagement with the customers. It's all
I think
all
that's
done.
fascinating though. But what's the advantage? I mean, just cheaper workforce? They're good in
Because on some of those projects where we're actually bidding on software stuff, if we're doing it here in the U.S. at $100 an hour and they're bidding a $30 rate in India, we'll never win any business. So that's why we have to let the leads here in the States do the high-end stuff, but the lower-end work just has to be offshore. You can't compete on that side. London is all sales on the facial recognition platform 11.
So you're selling globally, obviously.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, we have several clients throughout Europe. We also have an office in Des Moines, Iowa, that's going there. One of our guys is there, and here in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana.
How big is Integral in terms of, revenue-wise, roughly? You don't have to disclose exact sales figures, but I'm trying to get a sense of the size.
Integral came together August of last year.
August of 2019.
Of 2019, and our sales, I can tell you, are doubling monthly. We're growing. Now, we have some major projects that we're in deployment now and in proposal in. That'll take us to a multi-million-dollar company overnight once these deals are done. The big thing for us is just making sure you can deliver it. It's easy to sell the concept, but then you have to make sure you develop. And also for us, it's been so, I guess the interest level is so high, there is a problem with growing too fast. So we're doing a good job of making sure we're pacing ourselves to grow where we can sustain it and deliver the experience our clients depend on.
How many employees altogether do y'all have these days?
Everyone that works on Integral, we're probably 24, maybe. Yep, and it's growing.
And how many clients at this point? Dozens? More than 100?
On the law enforcement product, we've got over 100 law enforcement agencies that use the law enforcement product. On the commercial side, we're probably half a dozen now, but they're big. They're big companies.
So who else is doing this out there?
No one does the complete package. So we've got companies that'll do facial rec stuff, but it's our stuff runs on a basic laptop and very inexpensive, whereas the competition, you need $100,000+ servers to run it. So we can be very efficient in how we run it. Platform 11, no one does. There's people that do the messaging part, obviously, of people that can send out text messages. But in Platform 11, you can collect the data, you can share the data in very meticulous ways, as opposed to just sending out a blanket text message. So we're really, when we combine all of that together, there's really nothing else out there that does what we do.
Fascinating. Jacquelyn, how are y'all getting the word out about Apprenti, and how are you trying to interest young people in becoming part of this program?
Yes. Well, it's kind of two verticals, if you will. One is trying to share Apprenti with companies, hiring partners that we certainly need to have those openings and positions to place candidates. And so that's very much like any company would, making a lot of business development and sales calls.
So you're like literally just cold calling companies
Well,
locally?
Yeah, we're in the tech ecosystem, so we have some relationships, some strong relationships with companies, so we've leaned on those. But with other expansion companies, that's correct. It's really trying to network who you have that relationship with to get to the HR manager or director, as well as the chief information officer. Because I think if you have buy-in from those positions, and they really see the return on investment that this can provide their company, and an opportunity to relieve some of that from the HR manager, but still get great talent, that they'll come to the table for that. The second vertical certainly is, how do you find the talent? Where are we sourcing individuals from? And so that's kind of a community engagement. So we have some key community partners. We work with, in order to source veterans, we certainly know that persons are exiting out of the armed forces every month. So we have some key connections that share our information, so that perhaps veterans can come to the table as a talent and a demographic. Other youth,
like what about in the high schools?
Yeah,
coming
right.
out of high schools, the public school system?
Yes.
Or?
So the public school system, and sharing that information with them. And certainly in high schools now, they have, dual enrollment and other types of opportunities that high schoolers are getting a jump on their education, or at least fundamentals in certain areas. Now, there are candidates, students that might not want to go on for college, but they just want some workforce training. And so we are a pipeline for that as well.
And like CTech, the Career and Technical Training Center at Ardendale, do y'all work with them? Because I know they have an IT training path for their students. Would you get some of those young people?
So are you referencing the one that's located
at Ardendale, CTech?
Yeah, so we do. We have a partner with the Center for Career and Technology Training.
That's it.
We also have partnerships with all of the 2 and the 4-year institutions. But sometimes if a candidate already has the certifications and the training, we certainly don't want to retrain them. Then we just want to be a conduit to go ahead and place those into employment. And again, so there's kind of those 2 verticals with the hiring partners and kind of sourcing the community engagement part to source the talent. Now, again, that only works because it's very industry based and driven. So industry is going to have an opportunity to select who they want, that's going to be a good fit for their culture.
Sure. Casey, have you all had trouble getting and finding qualified, talented people in the IT sector, and particularly software, to work at your company? It's a issue that comes up often in these discussions.
It can be. It's fortunate we've got fairly decent relationships with LSU and Southeastern, their computer sciences program. That's helped, but still, depending on what the need is and what the specialty is of the tech person, it can be very difficult to find it. So you start taking guys and moving them around and just trying to cope to get through with it, because you can't find the exact talent that you need.
Is it that we don't have enough of them, or our schools are not teaching them the level of skills that are needed?
Both. I don't think we have enough. You don't have enough kids coming out of college with those types of degrees. And what's changed now is that almost every industry and sector that operates in the economy has tech behind it. So everything is tech now, and you just don't have enough people to fill the void of it with it. So companies are forced to go offshore to find just the resources to get the job done.
That is such a great point. It used to be IT jobs, but now everybody has IT jobs, and so that's making it hard, right?
It is, and I'm hoping, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hoping the trade schools and stuff can now start offering the tech degrees where, kids don't necessarily have to go through a 4-year college when everything they're going to learn is in their last year of school to get their specialty. How can we get these kids coming out where they can get the training, get the education they need, and enter the workforce making terrific money, without the burden of a 4-year college on top of them.
Because you're saying they don't need it.
They don't need it.
Yeah, I really love that point. The emphasis on there's so many companies that have tech jobs. So we're not, although we're talking about tech enabled workforce training, we're not just talking about traditional tech companies. We'd like to work with hospitals and finance and banking. There's a lot of industries industries that now have kind of internal IT departments that need the same type of connectivity to the workforce. So really, if there's any hiring partner, no matter what the industry is, and to some degree, they don't just have to be IT occupational roles. We can help as a registered apprenticeship navigate for any company that's looking at tech-enabled occupational roles or jobs.
Absolutely, because it's a good point on that. Is you take marketing now. Everybody thinks of marketing as, hey, it's business. But in today, if you come out in marketing and you don't know how to market and use social media and the internet on how to do it, you're not say worthless, but you don't have those skills. You need the tech skills of how to market online and use the technology to do it. And that's the gap where you have ideas and these talents, but they're missing the tech skills to actually implement it.
Yeah, so we're relying on the concept of workforce training in the industry-based certifications. What we're seeing and feeling and hearing within kind of that ecosystem is that, again, you don't have to have that 4-year degree. You really just have to have the skill sets that are tied directly to what industry is asking for the applications to be developed on. And if they have those IBCs, those industry-based certifications, then that's a gauge really to show that those candidates understand what they need to be doing and kind of can hit the floor running from
And
day
there's
one.
good money in these jobs?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Absolutely.
Jacquelyn Craddock and Casey Roussel, you both are involved in a field that is increasingly important, so critical today, and our technology-related needs continue to grow, as we say, and will only be more important in the years to come. So thank you for working in this field out there and creating opportunities for young people, and I appreciate your time and insights today on Out to Lunch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
My guests today on Out to Lunch have been Jacquelyn Craddock of Nexus Louisiana and Casey Roussel of Entrical. You can find out more about Nexus Louisiana and Entrical by going to the links on our website, itsbatonrouge.la. If you want to know what we all look like, you can find photos from the show on our itsbatonrouge.la webpage and on our Out to Lunch Baton Rouge social media. Out to Lunch is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsbatonrouge.la and WRKF 89.3 FM. The producer of our show is Grant Morris. Our technical producer is Eric Merle. Our associate producer is Peter Raschuti. Our Baton Rouge business consultants are Charlie D'Agostino, Dave Winwood, and Ann Edelman. Today's show was engineered by Colin Peden. I'm Stephanie Riegel. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to meeting you again next week around the table here at Mansur's for more business Baton Rouge style on Out to Lunch.
Out to Lunch Baton Rouge is recorded live over lunch at Mansur's on the Boulevard in Baton Rouge. Mansur's is open for lunch daily 11 to 2, for dinner nightly, and for brunch on Saturdays and Sundays. Mitchell Foreman wrote and performs all the music on Out to Lunch. You can hear Mitchell's music anywhere great jazz is sold or streamed, and at mitchellforeman.com. Major support for Out to Lunch is provided by the law firm of Jones Walker, established in 1937 with over 375 attorneys in offices throughout the U.S., providing a comprehensive range of services to a local, national, and international client base. JonesWalker.com. And by Short & Associates, legal recruiters in Louisiana and Texas. And Orange Theory Fitness, delivering fitness results for a healthier world.